Now, uncertainty looms over a potential new ceasefire deal in the ongoing Israel-Gaza war. Now, Hamas's chief Ismail Haniyeh's visit to Egypt and also the Mossad chief's engagement with other officials for talks were earlier seen as some positive signals. However, both sides are now indicating that a new potential agreement could be off the table. This is what is being said. Now, Hamas has reportedly rejected an Israeli proposal for a week-long truce in return for about 40 more hostages. It has insisted that Israel should implement a complete and a lasting ceasefire before negotiations for the release of further hostages, saying that the other hostages that Hamas has in its custody are all men related with Israeli military. Now, the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, however, has vowed to continue with the war to wipe out Hamas.
We are continuing the war to the end. It will continue until Hamas is eliminated, until victory. Whoever thinks that we will stop is detached from reality. We will not stop the fighting until all of the goals that we have set are achieved. The elimination of Hamas, the release of our hostages, and the removal of the threat from Gaza.
We have been clear for some time that since the occupation stopped the temporary truce, we have informed all parties about the clear and specific position that there will be no negotiation on the issue of prisoners before stopping the aggression.
Meanwhile, a United Nations Security Council vote on a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip has been delayed again for the fourth straight day. Biden has said that the United States' support for the resolution is still unresolved. But US diplomats reportedly are working to agree on the language of a draft resolution calling for a halt in fighting and a major increase in terms of aid deliveries to the Gaza Strip, which have been restricted by Israel. A human rights report has said that more than 8,000 Palestinians at this moment are held in Israeli prisons amidst an intensified wave of arrests and detentions in Gaza and also in the West Bank since the 7th of October. The report has further added that many of these people who are being held without any charges. Palestinians held in Israeli prisons without any charges. And at least about 80% of the detainees fall into that category. Now, earlier in the month, images of dozens of Palestinian men detained and stripped to their underwear and then taken to an undisclosed location after they were blindfolded and handcuffed did the rounds. On Tuesday, the Israeli newspaper Haaretz reported that hundreds of the men were being held at a military base in the south of Israel and that several of them had died in unclear circumstances while they were in the custody of Israel. The World Health Organization has said that there is no functioning hospital in North Gaza, while Gaza continues to suffer at this moment, with the death toll having risen well over 20,000. The big question, of course, is this. Is the idea of bombing endangering the Israeli captives in the Gaza Strip? Because this is something that a lot of people within Israel are also asking about. All right, now to give us more perspective in terms of what is happening at this moment, we're being joined by Mr. Omar Barghouti, who's a prominent Palestinian human rights activist, and he's joining us live on this broadcast. Now, Mr. Barghouti, the situation as it stands at this moment is extremely tenuous. There is a possibility that another military pause could be agreed upon for the exchange of hostages. What is your reading of what is happening at this moment in the Gaza Strip?
The human rights community in general does not believe in such temporary pauses that do not lead to an end, a complete end of the bombing and a complete end to the siege. Because this is not a conflict, this is a genocide. As hundreds of international law scholars, including very prominent scholars of the Holocaust and of genocide, have said this is an unfolding genocide. Dozens of UN experts have said this is a genocide in the making. The UN General Secretary said it has become a graveyard for Palestinian children in Gaza, and he has said Israel's aggression is causing a serious threat to peace and security worldwide. Based on all this, and the last vote at the United Nations General Assembly, where the US-Israel genocidal axis was completely isolated, the absolute majority of humanity voted for a permanent ceasefire, but only 10 countries voted against. This says that we need a real ceasefire because we have to stop the genocide. And without lifting the siege, without stopping the bombing, there is no way to save lives. 20,000 Palestinians have been murdered by Israel, predominantly children and women. 8,000 children, in fact, and many are under the rubble. We don't know the numbers. Israel has systematically destroyed the hospitals and the bakeries and the solar panels, universities, you name it, the entire infrastructure, the sewage, the water treatment, everything has been destroyed very systematically. Israeli officials have told Israeli media, Plus 972 magazine, that everything is intentional, quote unquote. Every single bombing was intentional. So if 200 people are killed, Palestinians are killed, just to target one person, that is perfectly legitimate in Israel's eyes. But this is an absolute war crime, a crime against humanity, and it's an unfolding genocide. We need a ceasefire, not a temporary cessation of hostilities.
Right. And also the fact that there is this human rights group report which says that at this moment, anywhere over 8,000 Palestinians at this moment are held in Israeli prisons. And the shocking statistic is that nearly about 80% of all Palestinians who've been detained in Israeli prisons are held without a charge. What do you make of this?
These are abducted, randomly abducted Palestinians, and who are ill-treated, tortured, and in the case of the army bases, for the Gaza abductees, some have been executed. The Haaretz report that you've cited, some Palestinians were killed in custody. That has a name in international law. They were executed in an extrajudicial way. So on top of all Israel's genocide and other war crimes and crimes against humanity, this is an additional horrific crime of torturing and executing prisoners, randomly picked boys and men. They're not just men. Human rights organizations have documented a large number of boys under 18, children, abducted from Gaza as well. Human rights organizations have also mentioned women abducted from Gaza. So the entire system is showing the demise of international law, and this poses a threat. This is why the UN Secretary General says this poses a threat to world peace and security, because Israel is destroying the very tenets of international law with its live stream genocide.
All right. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Omar Barghouti, for joining us and getting us that perspective there.
Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.